Hello and welcome back to Bookmark Chronicles. Today it's part 2 in a 3-part series talking about authors. The last video that I did was authors that I will never read, and today we're talking about authors that I will never read again. I have another list of 5 authors that I'm going to talk about. All of these authors I have read at least one thing from, perhaps multiple, but at some point I decided that they just weren't for me, and so I decided I was not going to read anything else that they put out. As I'm sitting here, I'm thinking of more authors that could very well be on this list, so I may end up doing a part 2 of this at some point. First author on this list won't be a surprise, J.K. Rowling. I've talked about her multiple times, and honestly, I'm at a point where I no longer really care about anything Harry Potter related anyway. No one in my family reads, so people keep getting me Harry Potter things, and then I have to be like, oh, thank you. Stop, please, just stop. I don't want it anymore. The transphobia, the racism, the disregard for causing harm to marginalized communities, I'm not interested. I'm pretty sure I have another video talking about her, so I'll just link to that one and you can go watch all my full thoughts. But honestly, it's like every time she opens her mouth, she just continues to get worse and worse. And instead of listening to people who are trying to actually help her and educate her, she refuses. I guess this kind of also goes into the conversation about cancel culture. It's not real, because if it were, she would actually be canceled. And there's a difference between canceling someone and holding people accountable, and y'all don't like to hold people accountable and they keep getting away with shit, which is why cancel culture doesn't actually work. It doesn't exist. I wish it did, because some people deserve to be canceled. However, at the same time, when you've been given multiple chances to right your wrongs and you just continue to do wrong, that's on you. The next author on this list is J Maas. I know that the girlies love her. I know, and I don't care. I had purchased their 7 books in the Throne of Glass series. I had 5 or 6 of them before I read the first book, and then Dasha and I read the first book together because Robin had read them, and it was a waste of time. I think I rated it 2 stars. Don't tell me it's an assassin story if I'm not going to see the assassin assassinate, okay? On top of the fact that book was just straight up trash, someone told me what happened to Nehemia, and I, 1, don't approve of the magical Negro trope. 2, don't approve of pretty much the only person of color that you have in this book being killed off to further the white main character story arc. That's fucked up. No thank you. So I unhauled that entire series. No, I will not read ACOTAR. I won't read House of Breath and Blood or whatever the fuck. And plus, Robin and Dasha buddy read that and it took them months. It put Robin in a reading slump. Why would I do that to myself? And then Shauna, who actually liked book 1, fucking hated book 2. You should watch that rant. It's pretty fucking funny. It's just further proof to me that J Maas isn't for me. On top of her poor treatment of her characters of color, I don't appreciate the way that she used the death of Breonna Taylor to promote her cover reveal for the Silver Flames book. A lot of people called her out for that shit, and I'm pretty sure that post is still up. That's fucked. She never addressed it at all. So absolutely not. Next on this list is J. Kristoff. I previously owned and read the entire Illuminae series. I did think that the format of it was pretty cool, but J. Kristoff has been called out so many times. And in typical white man fashion, he just does not take accountability for anything. He also told a Black content creator that she was it useless noise on the internet or some shit like that. I think with some of the criticism of, what's that series called? Is it Nevernight? Is that the one? It was anti-Semitic or something. I think he did actually address that. However, he's also offended Asian communities multiple times and been called out for it and never done anything. It's just the lack of accountability, honestly. It's weird. I don't like it. I did enjoy the Illuminae series for the most part, but I just don't see the value in continuing to support an author like that. And I feel like sometimes people say, oh, well, you know, this creator from this marginalized community said that they were really hurt by it, but at the same time, this other creator who is also a part of that marginalized community said they didn't really care, so I'm just gonna go with that. Like, no, if it's causing harm, then it's causing harm. That should be enough. I'm pretty sure Jess has a video talking more about the Kristoff stuff, so I will have that linked. Honestly, I feel like it's happened a few times and I can't really remember all of it because it seems like it was a while ago. But then I also know people who read his most recent book and said it was complete fucking trash, and I believe it. Next is Veronica Roth. So I read the entire Divergent series, saw the movies that they made anyway, because that went downhill really quickly. First of all, the ending of Allegiant was fucking trash, okay? But then her other series, I don't know what it's called. However, that first book came out and people were talking about how in this fantasy world she created sort of two races. One that was fair skin, fair hair, light eyes, and they were like the epitome of civilization. And then the other one was darker skin with textured hair, brown eyes, and they were referred to as savages. Now she did this in order to create a sort of blended world. Like eventually those tribes no longer existed and everyone was mixed with a little bit of everything. People called her out because they were like, hey, this stereotype of this darker skinned tribe is incredibly fucking racist and really harmful. She wrote this long ass blog post saying, I am very aware that as a white woman I have privilege, and I know that the trope used here for this particular tribe, even though it's not like those tribes in current times in the book, like those tribes being separate was like in the past and we're in the present, so technically it doesn't really play out in the book, I guess is what she was saying. But she was like, as a white woman, I understand my privilege and I know that this is harmful. However, I did it to make this mixed race community or whatever. And then she also later on said, but it was okay in Lord of the Rings or some shit. That's not okay. Just because you acknowledge your privilege does not mean that you are now incapable of causing harm. So the fact that she knew it was harmful and still chose to do it and then tried to excuse it, I don't like that. That's not how you take accountability. You also just didn't have to do it. It's a fantasy world. You could have done whatever the fuck you wanted, but instead you chose something that is very real and very harmful and chose to include it anyway. So I have no interest in reading anything by Veronica Roth. Also, I'm still kind of pissed that the fucking end of Allegiant was trash, and then they said they weren't gonna split the last movie into two, and then they did, and the first one was like a TV movie, and then the entire fucking cast quit. Like the whole situation was just really poorly handled. Editing Ray, the series is Carve the Mark by Veronica Roth. And two more things that I remembered. One, there was also complaint of disability rep in that series, and she had gotten in trouble on TikTok for saying something really insensitive to the point where I think she deleted her TikTok altogether. I tried to look for it this morning and couldn't find it, so yeah. The last author that I'm going to talk about today is Colleen Hoover. I read Maybe Not, no, Maybe Someday, Maybe Not, and Maybe Now. Two of those are full-length books. One of them's a novella. Oh, and I read Ugly Love. That was the first one I read, actually. Here's the thing. First and foremost, I don't think that Colleen Hoover counts as romance. I think that people need to understand that just because there is a romantic relationship or a love story does not automatically make it a romance novel, okay? Secondly, in every single book that I read, all the relationships were toxic as fuck. The characters were horrible. I didn't root for any of them. In fact, Colleen Hoover is the reason that I started doing junk book reviews. I mean, I was inspired by Sailor J because she's fucking awesome. But the book that I read that made me want to start doing junk book reviews was Maybe Now. Because I literally could not get through that book without drinking alcohol. And I was gonna DNF it. I was on Twitter and I was talking about how every time I pick up this book, I have to be drinking something because it's so fucking unbearable. And I think it was Dasha that was like, that'd be a nice video. And that's how junk book reviews were born. And if you go back and watch my very first junk book review, I drank a lot of wine. I drank a lot of wine in that video. And if I had been drinking hard liquor, the video probably wouldn't have made it. Like, I probably would have passed out. It was that bad. I also I can understand trauma. I like mess. I like Lifetime movies, but the fact that she genuinely doesn't know how or chooses not to write a healthy relationship is just a huge red flag for me. I don't like it. It Ends With Us should have never been turned into a fucking coloring book. I don't know who the fuck thought that was a good idea. And then there are rumors about her son being accused of assaulting someone and she stood up for him. No. I may watch the adaptation of, what is it? It Ends With Us. I think that's the one. I may watch it just to, I don't know, review it maybe, but I will definitely not be reading anything else by her ever again. I know that Jess read both of those books, and as most people say, they are easy to read, and I totally understand that. However, I would be rolling my eyes and taking shots throughout the whole thing, and no, I'm not going to do that, but I might watch the show. But as far as reading anything by her ever again, it's not happening. I just thought of another author that I will never read from again. I'm gonna have to do a part 2 at some point, but that's for another time. So let me know how you feel about these authors. Let me know if there are any authors that you have read from and will never read again, and why. Otherwise, that's all I have for you today, and I'll see you in the next video.